Okay, so I'm going to turn the camera off because the bandwidth is a little more stable if it doesn't have to use my camera. Okay, so vamos a aprender de hablar del futuro, pero con el presente. So you're going to learn to talk about future, what you're going to do in the future, but still conjugating your verbs in the present tense. So this is a pretty handy lesson, but it's not necessarily all new. So we're going to work on querer, preferir, esperar, and also pensar. Pensar is the newest and most different thing that we'll look at. So remember that the verb querer means to want. It can also mean to love platonically. So you love your mom, you love your dad, you love your sister, you love your best friend, but it's not romantic love. And that is not, querer isn't used for to love in all countries. So that's a cultural thing you just sort of have to gauge when you're in a country. Querer is also irregular. It also follows a stem changing pattern. So E to IE. The first E becomes an IE. So before you knew it only as an irregular verb, and now that you've learned stem changers, it makes sense to you when I say that it's an E to I stem changer. Okay, the conjugations for querer are, again, I'm going to ask you to repeat, but I don't know if you're repeating or not, so it's up to you, but I'll tell you this much, it's not good if you can't pronounce things. If you can pronounce words, you can spell them and write them. So you should, even if you're just whispering it to yourself, repeat when I ask you to. Repiten, quiero, quieres, quiere. Sorry, got behind there. Queremos, queréis, quieren. Sammy, come over. Come here. He's just going to sit on my lap so he stops that. Okay. So how do you use querer? You use it to express what you want to do. And that to do part is always in an infinitive form, right? Because you can't say quiero voy, or you'd be saying I want, I go. If you want to go, it remains in its basic infinitive form. So use it to express what you want. Maybe you're not going to say what you want to do, just what you want. Queremos un día para relajar. We want a day to relax. Or queremos helado. We want ice cream. Queremos, well, tacos. You can use it for platonic love, like I said. Practicame un poquitito. We want to learn the verb. So you're going to say, we want, queremos, to learn, aprender los verbos. Nosotros queremos aprender los verbos. Do you need nosotros? No, not really. It's not wrong to use it, but it's not necessary because of the mos, you know that's nosotros. She wants tacos for lunch. So we'll say, ella quiere, what does she want? Tacos para almuerzo. Ella quiere taco para almuerzo. Do you need the ella? Yeah, you do, because it could be Elle or Sammy the dog. It could be anything. Number 3, I love my dad a lot. So if I'm in Mexico and I want to say that I love my dad, I would say, yo quiero a mi papá mucho. I love my dad a lot. Do you want to come? If you put it in a question form, same thing. You just conjugate the verb querer for you. Do you want? So quieres to come, the infinitive. Con nosotros al cine. ¿Quieres venir con nosotros al cine? Okay, preferir. This is not a hard one because it's such a cognate. It's an E to IE changer. And remember that if you have 3 or more syllables, the change will happen in the second to last syllable. So we have pre, 1 syllable, fe, 2nd syllable, rir, 3rd syllable. This is what changes. Preferir, and it's an E to I stem changer. So it goes prefier, and then your endings except in the boot. It is not irregular in every tense. And it means exactly what it looks like. It is definitely a cognate. It's not hard to figure that one out. It means to prefer. So your conjugations are, repiten por favor, prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, preferís, prefieren. So preferimos, preferís. Do not make the change because they are not within the boot. So how do you use it? Almost the same way as you use querer. Prefiero ir a Traverse City. I prefer to go. So you can't say prefiero voy. You'd be saying, I prefer I go. Prefiero ir. So leave it in infinitive form. You can use it to express what you want. Maybe you prefer pizza over tacos. Prefiero pizza. I prefer pizza. Prefiero un día para relajarnos. I prefer a day to relax rather than going mountain climbing. Preferir, pero. So maybe you would use it with a but clause. Miguel quiere nadar, pero yo prefiero montar bicicletas. Mike wants to swim, but I prefer to ride bikes. Doesn't always have to be set up like that. It could be the opposite. You could say, yo prefiero montar bicicletas, pero Miguel quiere nadar. So that's just another example of how you might use it. So like querer, we prefer, preferimos, and then the infinitive of what we want to do. And escuchar is the verb for to listen to. So we'll say, preferimos escuchar música. Notice I didn't put a to here, and that's because escuchar means to listen to. So if I added one, I'd be saying we prefer to listen to music, so you don't need an extra to there. She prefers the cafeteria, so exactly as it sounds. Ella prefiere the cafeteria, la cafetería para almuerzo. Ella prefiere la cafetería para almuerzo. Número tres, I prefer Spanish to French. So I prefer stem changer because it's definitely in the boot. Prefiero español a francés. Sammy's trying hard to get off of my lap, but not going to do it. I imagine that sounded super annoying, him scratching on the wood floor. He wants to go, but I prefer to be at home. Él quiere ir. So we conjugate querer, and then to go will stay as an infinitive. Pero I prefer, prefiero, infinitive, Sarah or a star, because it's location, a casa. Él quiere ir, pero yo prefiero estar a casa. Again, if you have questions while I'm talking, guys, remember, I'm not looking at the monitor where your faces are. I'm looking at the presentation. So just press the space bar or unmute yourself and interrupt me if you have a question. That's fine. Pensar is also a stem changer. This is an E-I-E verb, and it means to think. E-I-E, and it means to think. There's only one E, so there's no worries about figuring out where the change will happen. It's not an irregular verb. It's simply a stem changer, which is a regular, normal pattern in Spanish. It means to think, or in our case, in combination with infinitives, to intend or to plan to do something. Las conjugaciones repiten, por favor. Pienso, piensas, piensa. Pensamos, pensáis, piensan. Okay, so how do you use it? You can just say what you think. Pienso que vamos al partido hoy. I think we're going to the game today. Now, in English, you could say, I think that we are going to the game today. Your English teacher, I'm sure, has taught you to use the word that as little as possible to avoid a bunch of verbal garbage. So, what you need to remember is that if you could sensibly put that in an English sentence, it must be there in Spanish. So you can't just say pienso vamos, you have to say pienso que vamos. So the other thing to help you remember to put the K there would be that you need a new clause. If I want to say, I think we are going, these are two conjugated verbs. So I need to separate those with a conjunction, and K does that for me. So pienso que vamos al partido hoy. That's why the K is there. You can say what you want, what you plan or intend to do. And you do that by just following the verb pensar not with a conjunction, but with an infinitive of what you plan or intend to do. So, pienso pasar un día a casa. I plan to spend a day at home, or I intend to spend a day at home. So, this is truly the new information for you. Everything else has probably been reviewed. If you've been up to date on all of your lessons and you've seen everything else, you probably have even seen pensar, but this new use of pensar is what we're really getting at. And then we lump in all those other verbs as well, because they accomplish the same thing. They allow you to say what you're going to do without having to use a new verb tense. So use the infinitive. Otherwise, it's not going to make any sense in Spanish. You can't have two conjugated verbs right in a row. So you could use pensar to say that you're thinking of someone or something. Now, this particular rule is annoying, and I'm just going to be honest. I don't think it makes that big of a difference to native speakers. I didn't learn this until I started teaching. I'm sure I technically made a mistake every time I used it. And no one ever looked at me like I was, sprouting another arm. It was fine. So the rule is that if you're thinking about a person, you use pensar en. If you're thinking about a thing, you say pensar de. Pienso en mi hermano. I'm thinking about my brother. Pienso de mi examen. I'm thinking about my test. It is not likely that we'll assess you on that particular difference, but it's good to be aware of it. Okay, we think the music is good, so we can't just say we think. That's not, sometimes I can't speak. I'm sorry. We think that the music is good is what you need to say in Spanish. Pensamos que la música es buena. Why do you need the que? Because there's another verb right here. You need to conjugate that in order to say the music is good, so you got to have the conjunction. She plans to eat in the cafeteria. So you're going to follow pensar with the infinitive to say what she plans or intends to do. Ella piensa comer en la cafetería. Ella piensa comer en la cafetería. Número 3, I intend to speak Spanish in Spain. So remember that pensar can either be to plan or to intend. So I say pienso. What do I intend? Hablar español en España. Yo pienso hablar español en España. I plan or intend to speak Spanish in Spain. He thinks of me, I think of school. So if we look at that last rule and apply it here, we're going to say he thinks, él piensa of me, and me, because I'm a person, I think, yo pienso of school, de la escuela. So he's thinking about me. I can't be bothered. I'm thinking about school. Esperar. Esperar. I'm not sure if you're aware of this particular verb. It means either to hope or to wait. But it's totally regular. So if you don't know it, it's not going to be an issue for you. It's a regular verb in all tenses. It means either to wait or to hope. In this case, for future plans, we're going to use it in the context of hoping. So conjugating this regular verb, repiten por favor, espero, esperas, espera. Esperamos, esperáis, esperan. So I hope, you hope, he hopes, we hope, y'all hope, they hope. So how do you use it? Pretty much the same way as you use all the rest of these. You can use it to express what you hope to do. So that'll involve an infinitive. I hope to go to Traverse City. Espero ir a Traverse City. So use the infinitive of what you hope to do. Don't conjugate two verbs right in a row. There is there's another word. If you want to say espero, I hope so, you can say espero que sí. I hope that, yes, literally, espero que sí, or ojalá que sí, or sometimes you can just put ojalá out in front of anything. I hope that, ojalá que tengamos tacos hoy para la cena. Hopefully we had tacos today for dinner. Ok, vamos a practicar un poquito, ¿eh? I hope to travel a lot this summer. So it's to travel. We're going to use an infinitive here. Espero to travel, viajar. Trabajar is to work, if that's what you were thinking. Mucho este verano. Espero viajar mucho este verano. Número dos, we hope to play. Nosotros esperamos to play. Jugar, because we're talking about a game, not an instrument. Fútbol hoy. Esperamos jugar al fútbol hoy. She hopes to go with him. Again, infinitive. Ella espera ir con él. This after jugar, I learned in high school and all throughout college to always put an in front of the sport that you're going to play. I'm seeing that, I'm noticing that it's absent in more contemporary books. So, I don't really know what's going on with that. I would be interested to know whether Natalia puts an in front of sports, if her mom does. But honestly, I think you can do either or, but I have always been taught to put the there. Okay, so these are kind of hard to do. I will leave them up here. We'll put them up here, but it's kind of hard to do these drills all together. Yo pienso leer este libro. If you change it to to, it becomes piensas leer. If I say espero dar un examen and then I change it to el, it should be él espera dar un examen mañana. He hopes to give a test tomorrow. Yo quiero tener una fiesta para Juan. I want to have a party for Juan. We want to have a party for Juan. So quiero becomes queremos tener una fiesta para Juan. Ir plus a plus infinitive. This is really just a quick review. It obviously is another way to refer to the future without conjugating in a different tense. So you say ir plus a plus the infinitive of what you're going to do. We spent quite a bit of time working on this earlier, so you shouldn't need me to go over this too intensely. Yo voy a bailar hoy. I'm going to dance today. So if I say I'm going to study with Roberto, en español decimos, yo voy a estudiar con Roberto hoy. I'm going to study with Roberto today. You don't need this many examples. You already know this stuff. Dang, I must have been teaching it right from scratch in the past. Okay, so we worked a little bit on saying what you're going to like. So remember that what you do is, if you use gustar, you either use third singular or third plural. Okay, you can get down, but if you scratch, you're getting right back up. So instead of saying me gusta, you're going to say me va a gustar. So what I'm going to do is to like this, or it's going to be pleasing to me. Me va a gustar la película. If it's plural, then instead of me gustan, if I want to say I'm going to like it, I'd say me van a gustar. Me van a gustar mis clases. And that ought to be review, although I know it's kind of hard for everybody. I'm going to eat in the cafeteria. Voy a comer en la cafetería. We are not going to travel this summer. No vamos to travel, viajar. No vamos a viajar este verano. She's going to go to the movies tonight. She's going to go. Ella va a ir al cine esta noche. I'm going to like Spanish. So instead of saying, instead of saying me gusta español, I'm going to say me va a gustar español. Are you going to like it? Now we're just going to say, ¿te va a gustar francés? A ellos les van a gustar los tacos. So it's the same process using gustar, but instead of just using gustar, you say va a gustar or van a gustar. This is handy vocabulary. Never, nunca. De vez en cuando, you already know. I don't know if we did nunca. A veces, that was in your Super 7. Rara vez. That's a cognate, so it's a little easier to recognize. A menudo, often. I'm pretty sure that was super siete. Siempre. Those are there because they're all words that Mrs. Hotelling included on the final exam. So I wanted to make sure I touched on them individually. So here's what your work is going to be today. You've got a chart like this, and you're just going to change it. So these are basic verb drills. So the first one, espero salir esta noche. I hope to go out tonight. So you're going to go all the way across in Spanish with each verb, and then you'll translate it. So the ir plus a plus infinitive version is voy a salir esta noche. I'm going to go out. Querer, quiero salir. I want to go out. Preferir, I prefer to go out. So you're going to go all the way through your chart. Fill those all in. I think there are 6 sets of these for you to do. And finally, I'm done. I'm not going to say anything else. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask before I let you go? Nobody has any question. Okay, if not, then you're good to go, ladies and gentlemen. Your homework is there. It's not hard, but it is going to take you a minute to type all that. I did a lot of copying and pasting when I made the key. Okay, I hope that you have a good day. Let me know if you need any help. Adios, chicos.
Adios.
When do you want me to take the market vocab test?
Can you print at home?
Yeah.
Want to do it today at 2:00? Or is that too much of an ambush?
I don't know.
It just so happens that somebody else is going to do it today at 2:00. And since it's a written test, I have to email it to you. You print it. So I'll email it just before you're ready to take it. You print it. Then I'll send you a Zoom link and you
Okay.
take it on camera.
Okay.
So if you don't feel like you're ready to do it today, you don't have to. I mean, we can set up another time, but so if you would rather just let me know what is best for you, you want to look at it and then send me an email if you look at it and you think you can definitely do it today. And then I'll also send you the Zoom link for 2 p.m. And if you're not comfortable, then just email me when you are ready.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, Torino. Hasta luego, pues.
Adios.